Okay, so now we have the chilled wort that's actually making its way into the fermenter, and of course the counterflow chiller is going to continue to cool this off. I actually have an IR temperature probe that I can use to kind of figure out, see what my temperature is. Right, so we're doing pretty good here. And we'll just simply allow this to kind of continue to come out. The interesting thing that I'll point out here is that the temperature of the wort right now that's actually in the fermenter is this is showing that it's about 58 degrees. You got to keep in mind though that we certainly have some wort that's closer to the pump head, closer to the element, that is going to be cooler, and so we're just going to allow those temperatures to kind of balance out, if you will. All right, so again, you can kind of see how that's slowly filling up the fermenter. And so I'll show you what I'm going to use to get this to kind of set this up. Here, let's go ahead and see what the temperature is now. See, that temperature's at about 60. I'm going to go ahead and stir it around it just a little bit so we get a really thorough mixing here. We're doing pretty good. I don't want the video to kind of be taken up by all of this, so we're just gonna allow this to kind of continue to do its magic, if you will. So we have collected 5¼ gallons of wort, and so the next thing that we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and stir this around a little bit. I'm using dry yeast, so I'm much less worried about getting this properly hydrating the yeast, or for that matter aerating the wort. You don't really need to, according to the manufacturer, you really don't need to aerate the wort when you're working with dry yeast, because they were actually harvested or allowed to propagate under aerobic conditions. So they already have all the nice healthy little sterols that they need to properly divide and metabolize your wort. So I'm just sanitizing the packet right now. Temperature of the wort, in case you're interested, is 70 degrees, which is pretty close to the what temperature I'm going to be fermenting at, which is 65. And just a little bit longer before we can throw the yeast in there. While we're waiting for that, let me go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and take my refractometer reading. Refractometers could be used in wort that has not been undergone fermentation. And the reason why is because the alcohol actually messes up the gravity readings in the refractometer. And so it looks like we hit the original gravity that we wanted, 1060. I think 1059 was what the recipe called for, so we're doing really good there. And so we've sanitized the sachet that we're going to have used for the yeast. Now it's really important, if you're going to do it the way that I'm doing it, which is not hydrating your yeast. All that you want to do is simply add the yeast, let it sit for about 15 minutes or so, and then shake the bucket. What you don't want to do is you don't want to stir the yeast right away. Okay? And the reason why is because that the yeast are coming from they're moving from a solid state, right? By the way, there's a packet if you're interested, Safe L05. And so I'm going to start to time this. But in the meantime, what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to go ahead and add my lid for the fermenter. So now I've got my fermenter all sealed up. And I like to use a blow-off tube to start with. I like that blow-off tube to be entirely sanitary, so I'm not going to put it on there. But anyhow, that's pretty much the brewing process in a nutshell. And so I hope that you enjoy the video. And certainly, if you have any questions, just feel free to give me a shout.